Hollity schmollity. If I had a TV show, I'd run that sucker into the ground.
Throughout the years media has existed, one of the most prominent has been the art form of animation. Unlike live action, you could tell any story with animation. The limits of the real world do not exist. You could make stories of toys coming to life and learning the value of growing up. Or you could make the story of how years of social rejections can lead to the same person being rejected thinking the same. Or the story of how creativity can triumph over mediocrity. But there is one saying that lingers over most animation, and that being that all good things must come to an end. And while a lot of series do eventually end, they can have some of the most beautiful, powerful, and emotional finales in recent memory. So that's what I'll be counting down today, the top 10 best cartoon series finales. Now for this list, I'll be discussing 10 of what I think are the best ways a lot of series could end, whether it be tying up loose ends in a story or just having a final adventure full of wacky antics. My rules for this list is that the picks have to be series finales, so no end of season 1 kind of episodes. Also, while I do love them, TV movies would also be disqualified from this list. But with all that said, let's get on with the top 10 best cartoon series finales. Purge the Carly Dog? Perfect. Purge the Carly Dog is more than just creepy and disturbing stuff. It's a deeper show than people give it credit for. The final episode of the series, titled Perfect, proves that. It starts with Eustace scolding Courage for not doing anything right and tells him that someone should make him perfect. He then supposedly imagines a teacher that tries to make him perfect. After failing at each perfection exam and having some really strange nightmares, Courage goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth, where he finds a weird fish. The fish tells Courage that there's no such thing as perfect and that he's beautiful as he is. Courage goes back to do the final perfection exam, and he does it in his own creative way, which causes the teacher to melt down and vanish. It ends with Courage, Eustace, and Muriel eating baklava. This episode teaches an important life lesson that each and every one of us should know. No one is perfect. People make mistakes, and you should not beat yourself up for messing up from time to time. Courage was blaming himself for making mistakes and not doing stuff right. He created in his mind a school teacher that scolds him each time he doesn't do something perfectly, when in reality, it's just poor Courage being too hard on himself. I can tell from personal experience that failing and making mistakes sucks, and I always wish that I could go back in time to stop myself from screwing up, but I can't. I have to accept it and move on. I have to learn from my past mistakes to not repeat them in the future. Whether it's as little as accidentally breaking something or as big as hurting someone you care about, you need to move forward and stop feeling so bad about yourself. If you understand what you did wrong and try as hard as you can to not repeat the same mistake again, then there's nothing else you can do. And while Courage might not be perfect, this episode surely is. Wander Over Yonder, The End of the Galaxy. While Wander Over Yonder was a show that got cancelled way too early in its lifetime, in my opinion, it has had a great send-off in the form of The End of the Galaxy. After an entire season of our heroes losing to the villain Lord Dominator, they maroon on what seems to be one of the last planets left in the galaxy. So Sylvia has a plan to take down Dominator for good, but Wander seems to have a different motive, where he believes that if he can try to make friends with Lord Dominator, she could stop trying to kill planets. But sadly, no one agrees with Wander's plan, and so they all decide to go with Sylvia's plan instead. But a still confident Wander decides to go through with his plan anyway. While Sylvia and the others fight off the ship, Wander ends up getting captured at the same moment Sylvia almost dies from Dominator's drill. But then Lord Hater comes in to save the day with some motivation to fight off the planet destroyer. Meanwhile, Wander discusses with Dominator on how she chooses to be bad because she has no friends and is lonely. Lord Hater ends up breaking the ship, causing it to crash, and while it may have seemed that Wander died in the explosion, he managed to save himself and Dominator in time. And while he tries to convert Dominator over to the side of good, it fails. The episode then ends with Hater and Wander going on to do what they've been doing throughout the entire series. Overall, Wander Over Yonder left no stone unturned when it came to its ending. It's a true shame we didn't get more episodes, but on the bright side, we still got what I think is a pretty great finale.
Shut up! Ugh, you guys are so weird! I'm leaving! Didn't want to destroy your goofy little galaxy anyway.
Futurama. Meanwhile, Now, Futurama is a show that has had a long history when it comes to finales.
It ran for 4 seasons on Fox until it was cancelled, and then acquired by Cartoon Network, where it aired as reruns on Adult Swim for 3 years. Then, starting in 2006, the series released 4 direct-to-DVD movies until 2010, when Comedy Central aired the series for 2 more seasons until it got cancelled for the final time in 2013. That is until 2014, when Futurama returned to Fox for a one-time crossover episode with The Simpsons. And since that point, the series has continued to air as reruns on Comedy Central, and now Sci-Fi.
And while The Devil's Hands could have been a great finale in my opinion, I actually like Meanwhile a lot more. The episode starts off with both Fry and Lita getting stuck in time together with no real way of unfreezing time. So instead, they decide to spend the rest of their lives together, and a massive montage of the two going through their lives play out. In the final few minutes of the episode, while the two are now old, Farnsworth shows up and tells them that he can get them back to normal time. Crossing over through the portal will cause the space-time continuum to repeat from the first episode of the series. The episode then ends with the two agreeing to go through the same adventure they've had for 7 seasons, living the adventure of Futurama over again. Overall, while the finale didn't tie up any plot lines, it did end off on a high note, since we do get one last wacky adventure in the multiverse of Futurama.
What do you say? Want to go around again?
I do.
Samurai Jack, Episode CI. Samurai Jack was a series with some incredible storytelling aspects, and while a lot of fans were disappointed with its conclusion, I think it's a really great way to end off the series. The episode continues from the one previous to it, with Jack getting captured by Aku, and Aku broadcasting announcing the defeat of the samurai to the future. Then suddenly, all of Jack's friends he's made from the beginning of the series come to rescue him. The talking dogs, the rave kids, hell, even the Scotsman comes to help Jack out as a ghost. As the episode goes on, we see Jack attempt to rescue Ashi from Aku's grasp, confessing his love for her in the process. Ashi finally manages to control her powers and transport her and Jack to the past, where in a burst of adrenaline, Jack manages to beat Aku and stop him for good. But this is where most of the complaints for this episode comes from. Jack and Ashi are to become married, but Ashi fades away because if Aku doesn't exist in the future, then she will cease to exist as well. The episode ends with a broken Jack lonely, but cheered up when he discovers distant mountains to adventure. In the end, the finale encompasses what made Samurai Jack so special. People forget that a lot of the time it wasn't crazy bouncy action, it was a somber tone carried with each scene as if it was a big budget film, which makes it number 7 on my list. Regular Show, a regular epic final battle. Regular Show wrapped up in the most epic way. I didn't possibly imagine it being so heartwarming. I'm not gonna really do a summary of it, but I do want to say, if you really haven't watched any episodes of Regular Show, then I highly suggest it. The finale ended on such a breathtaking moment. The entirety of the episode was filled with laughable moments, but I couldn't help but feel emptiness and sadness when the episode ended. I was easily impressed with it, and I truly think it was the best finale for a show to end with. And that's exactly why Regular Show's finale wrapped up so well. Another thing that I wanted to talk about with the finale is that it's seriously the biggest fourth wall break episode I've ever seen. I mean, it seriously took us back to the first episode and made most of the audience confused. It was incredible. Now I also want to talk about the wrap up of it. A truly sad way to end a series like Regular Show, with the loss of a main character and everybody growing up and moving on. Also, David Bowie playing in the background was a very nice touch in my opinion. If I had to complain about something, it would have to be that we didn't get to see a wrap up for some of the side characters like Thomas, Margaret, and CJ. I mean, I can understand it being hard to wrap up their particular endings because losing focus of the main characters is your main concern. Even though Regular Show's finale wasn't really regular, it definitely proved that it was anything but.
Man, I can't believe it's been 25 years.
Yeah, I wish Pops could have been here to see this.
Well, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have this.
Yeah.
Kim Possible, Graduation. Kim Possible has been the host of many episodes that reflect the trials and tribulation of teen life, with Kim having to mix her hero life with her personal life, and the finale reflects this tenfold. The episode starts out with Kim and Ron preparing for their graduation, which is interrupted by Warmonga from a previous episode and Warhawk. The pair abduct both Dr. Draken and Kim, leaving Ron and Shigo to team up to rescue them. So the four must work together to stop both Warmonga and Warhawk from destroying the planet, which leads to an epic battle back on Earth, which takes a turn for the worse as the alien pair turn the tide on the battle. And just as it seems like the good guys are finished, Ron uses his mystical monkey powers with help from Sensei, and surprisingly single-handedly takes out both Warmonga and Warhawk and saves the day. The graduation continues as a montage of what happens to the characters are shown, with Dr. Draken receiving a medal for saving the world and turns to the good side, much to the other villains' delight. And Ron and Kim attend a beach party along with their friends before driving away and sharing one last kiss as the series ends. The finale to Kim Possible is one that I can safely say ends the series off perfectly. Sure, so the drama would end up being the overall victor, but I'd still love this finale all the same.
You know, this is all new territory, KP.
New? Draken? Alpine Lair? Feels sort of repeatish.
No, I'm talking about graduation. I get to wear a gown!
Harvey Beaks, the end and the beginning. Harvey Beaks has always been a prime example of a series that Nick didn't care for, but despite being mistreated to all frick, it did end up having a very heartwarming series finale in my opinion. The story for the finale is that Fee and Foo's parents, named Beda and Grada, show up to Little Bark having located their long lost kids. Yeah, it turns out the twins have parents that have been searching for their kids for a very long time. At first, Fee doesn't buy it, but eventually comes around thanks to Foo. As a result of the reconciliation, Fee and Foo decide to go with their parents back home. Of course, this devastates Harvey. Fortunately, he gets over it and instead remembers all the fun memories the trio has had over the years. The series finale of Nickelodeon's Lone Diamond was, expectedly, a bit of a tearjerker. Though I gotta say, the producers did a nice job giving the fans of the series a proper farewell. As per the episode, the flashbacks were excellent, especially the ones with the kids. I love the music composition for Fee and Foo's flashback, and somehow Harvey was made even more adorable when the duo is first introduced to their eventual best friends. The montage at the end and the voices of the parents are two minor flaws that this episode has, but there is something bigger to talk about here. I just want Nickelodeon to realize that they have officially lost a diamond among a rough, or mostly crap that is currently across their networks. I often wonder if this series ran opposite of Steven Universe or Star Versus, would we have gotten more seasons out of the show? Would the show still have been called Harvey Beaks, or would the Bad Seeds title have stuck? There are so many questions with just how good the show could have been had Nickelodeon not been a bunch of idiots and instead given more guidance to a series that they clearly did no background check and see who was making it, and instead let go of a series like Harvey Beaks that was clearly produced by people on every level that cared. From the excellent voice direction to casting Ego Plum putting together the soundtrack of his career, Harvey Beaks deserved better than the hand that it was dealt. Gravity Falls, Weirdmageddon Trilogy. Gravity Falls has got to be one of the biggest animated series in recent memory, with its charming cast, its ingenious plot, and not to mention its gigantic pile of quotable moments. There's no doubt that Alex Hirsch and his team have done wonders for this series, and in no other way can this be seen than in its final 3 episodes titled Weirdmageddon. The plot begins with Mabel getting captured by Bill after being duped by the main villain himself, posing as their time-traveling friend Blendon Blandon. Bill manages to break the dimensional rift, essentially opening the floodgates to the apocalypse onto Gravity Falls, with people being turned into statues, bubbles of madness being spread across the town, and Bill's group of cronies letting loose across the land. Later on, Ford and Dipper fail to stop Bill, leaving Ford to become a golden statue and the journals to be destroyed. Dipper's only option left is to find Mabel. Along with the help of Wendy, they manage to avoid and convince Gideon to go fight Bill. In part 2, the trio land in Mabel's prison where everything is to her liking. After convincing her in a court case of fantasy versus reality, they bust out of her prison, which leads into the third and final part. The gang heads back into the mystery shack to find that all the friends they've made were hiding in there. The whole crew crew decide to build a robot out of the Bill-proofed shack with the help of Old Man McGucket. As the group fight off Bill, a large squad of our main characters parachute into Bill's fortress to free Ford, but Bill shows up not too long after. After a pretty thrilling chase happens, Ford decides to give himself up to Bill so that he can enter his mind and know how to spread Weird-Mageddon to the world. But in a cruel twist of fate, we see Bill enter Stan's mind. Turns out, the Stan switched around clothes in order to trick Bill, and Stan has his mind erased, permanently wiping him from existence. But in the process, Stan's mind is completely wiped, having him completely forget who he is. Thankfully, with the help of time, the Pines manage to bring back Stan's memories. The episode then ends with the twins celebrating their 13th birthday and them leaving Gravity Falls. Overall, Weird-Mageddon is what I believe is the right way to end a series like Gravity Falls, by having all the loose ends tied up in one last hurrah. And even though Gravity Falls ended in 2 seasons, they still managed to wow us to the end. Steven Universe Future. I Am My Monster and the Future. Steven Universe has always been a show that talked about the mental well-being of its characters. Probably the most prominent example has to be its penultimate episodes, I Am My Monster and the Future. After almost shattering Jasper and White Diamond, Steven finally breaks down and tells the gems everything that has happened to him. With all this stress, he morphs into a massive monster kaiju capable of destroying cities, with the gems and the diamonds unable to stop him, even with their powerful fusions, leaving them to break down blaming themselves. Thankfully, Connie comes to the rescue with a plan to fully support Steven with a big group hug and a final kiss from Connie. All of this makes Steven cry, leaving him to transform back into his human form. This directly leads into the future. 2 months have passed since the incident has happened, and Steven is doing a lot better than before. He's seeing a therapist, doing yoga, and is overall happier, but he has decided to leave Beach City to find out his life's purpose. The only issue being that he hasn't told the gems yet. He first tries to tell the core gems, even with a homage to the Cookie Cat jingle from the first episode, but it seems that the gems are unfazed by him leaving. Even the B-Team gems and Jasper are more sad of him leaving, but in the final few minutes, we discover that the gems were trying to stay strong for Steven, but they couldn't in the end. The series ends with Steven driving away and saying goodbye to the place he calls home.
What's wrong with you guys?
Man, what a powerful ending. I wonder what could top this one. But before we get to number 1, here are a few of the honorable mentions. OKKO. Thank you for watching the show. OKKO's finale was a really great look into what the creators really thought of the show being over, but it also does give us one more great adventure with KO and the gang. Avatar: The Last Airbender, Sozan's Comet. I absolutely love this finale, but since I reviewed this recently, I made a conscious effort to leave it off the list. But consider this an unofficial 11th spot. And with all that said, on to number 1. Adventure Time. Come along with me. Of course, there could be no other series that had ended on an even higher note than Adventure Time. And who could blame me? It's one of the decade's most defining shows, opening the floodgates to the prime animation we've become accustomed to. And of course, it had to end in the best possible way with Come Along With Me. Up until this part of the series, war has been building up between the Candy Kingdom and Gumbaldia. The episode starts off with Bimo retelling the tale of the Great Gum War to a couple of characters named Shermie and Beth. After an encounter with an eavesdropping Gumbaldia scout, the kingdoms go to war. While in the Dream Realm, Uncle Gumball leaves Fern for dead in an attempt to kill Princess Bubblegum first. The chase continues as Finn attempts to snap Fern out of his transformation, while Peepee and Gumball try to kill each other in multiple dreams, while Jake has an adventure through multiple nightmares. Later on, Finn and Fern both confront their shared tournament and somehow manage to defeat it. The episode seems to end with the end of the war, until Glob, who is believed to be Adventure Time's equivalent to Satan, appears and molds all of Gumbaldia's soldiers into a chimera-like creature, capable of adding to its mass by eating more living candy creatures. It turns out Betty, who has shown herself to attempt multiple times to destroy Ice King's crown, was trying to harness Golb's power and destroy the crown again. Finn, Betty, and Ice King get swatted by Golb, leaving the others to fight off the chimera creatures. As the three become swatted by Golb, the rest of the army discover that harmony is Golb's weakness, and it turns out that Ice King's crown has reset into its primal wishing form, allowing Betty to wish to keep Simon safe, turning her into another manifestation of Golb, effectively putting an end to the war. The rest of the episode plays to the tune of the series end credits, Come Along With Me, lovingly sung by Rebecca Sugar herself, as all the characters go on with their lives, bringing the end to an amazing 10-year series.
Beth, you're doing it wrong. Like this.
And that's the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's really fun getting to talk about these types of endings. Do you have a particular ending you like yourself? Leave them down in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter @GeekToons and join my Discord server to hang out with me and other cartoon fans. And I'll see you all in the next one.